So I finally got around to watching Secrets of Dumbledore, the first J.K. Rowling movie to only break even at the box office. The last Fantastic Beasts movie was such a mess. People like to shit on the whole series, but let's not forget that the first one was fairly well received. We don't need to act like they were all doomed from the start. It was Crimes of Grindelwald that cemented this train wreck. But I'll start by saying that Secrets of Dumbledore is a fair improvement. I went into this movie with a mix of cynicism and apathy. Now granted, I did want to see it, but I waited until it was on HBO Max, which is crazy for me, given that I've been gung-ho on Harry Potter for the past 21 years. But needless to say, I enjoyed myself more than I expected to. This movie was co-written by Rowling and Harry Potter's screenwriter, which fixed a lot. The story flowed way better as a straightforward narrative, while Crimes of Grindelwald was Rowling throwing in every subplot and random idea that popped into her head. The problem with having Rowling as the only screenwriter is that she's a novelist, which doesn't have to matter, but it's evident that her style was honed in a media that allows this kind of overstuffing. The Harry Potter books are long as fuck, in part because there's tons of side stories and new characters that work better when you're reading a book, where you can take all the time you need to feel connected to everything, while on the other hand, a movie needs to be easier to follow, because it's visually consumed in just a couple of hours. Especially with Rowling, where a lot of her foreshadowing is based on blink-and-you'll-miss-it details. You're more prone to notice these Easter eggs if they're described to you on paper, but in a movie, you literally miss it if you blink. Having a professional screenwriter's help, especially one who spent decades adapting her work, was a good move. I also want to point out that the film looked amazing. I'm not a fan of the overly artsy and CGI'd look we've seen in this series. Toning that down a little helps make the movie more believable to me, so kudos for that. Now, for what you all really want to hear, is Dumbledore's sexuality confirmed? Yeah, it is. Is it heavily explored? Well, no, but I never really wanted it to be. Dumbledore being gay is mentioned in the first scene and later towards the end. And I don't have an issue with the way that it's done. In fact, it's probably what most fans wanted. It's simply stated as a fact that he was in love with Grindelwald. And that's it. The only reason it might feel anticlimactic is because it took over 2 decades to happen. When fans criticized Rowling for not showing Dumbledore's sexuality, it's not like we wanted a sex scene or something. Just the 2-sentence, squeaky clean acknowledgement we got. And while it was nice to get, I can't help but feel frustrated that it took so long for something so minimal. But on a positive note, I appreciate that they tried to make Newt feel more necessary. If you haven't guessed, I'll be calling back to Crimes of Grindelwald a lot. But one of my least favorite parts of that movie was how it shoehorned Newt into the story. It felt like Rowling was married to the characters from the first film, rather than move on with the more interesting narrative. The Grindelwald conflict was something alluded to since the beginning of Harry Potter. So why are you forcing the Fantastic Beasts element well beyond its natural conclusion? Anyway, Newt's job as the magical Pokemon Wrangler was now necessary for Grindelwald's arc. The problem is, that arc, well, was fucking stupid. The idea that the Minister of Magic is decided not by a vote or a committee, but playing Let's See Who He Walks To with a magical animal is just the worst fucking system. Now, let's talk Credence. Holy shit do I hate Credence. When it comes to shoehorned in plotlines, his is the worst one. I've hated this kid from the beginning because he's the least interesting character, and whenever he shows up, it's to demand my attention from what actually interests me. Oh, is Wizard Mussolini rising to power? That's intriguing. But no, pay attention to me. Where am I from? Oh, are we learning about the animal kingdom within the wizarding world? That's kind of cool. No, pay attention to me. Fuck this brooding emo. He's not interesting, and his storyline is boring as shit. I don't care if the whiny edgelord finds his dad. I want to learn about the magical world war. But kudos to this movie. They keep him to a minimum. His scenes aren't unrelated spotlight stealers. He's a side character who occasionally shows up within the main plot. Good move. Very good move. Now, of course, the second elephant in the room is Mads Mikkelsen. I'm probably repeating what you've already heard, but I like this portrayal of Grindelwald better. Once I got past the new actor whiplash, I realized that this version was closer to what I always pictured. He was played as a corrupt, manipulative businessman, not this weird magical demon spawn we got with Johnny Depp. I should note, however, that if Johnny Depp's personal drama was enough to get him let go, they ought to have fired Ezra Miller as well. But don't recast Credence, just write him the fuck out. But I digress. A consistent weak spot of the Harry Potter films is just how jarring they can be with actor replacement. I get that an actor wants to make the character their own, but I just think they could do a better job with the transition to help maintain the illusion. Especially in movies like these. They could easily acknowledge and justify a change in physical appearance within the narrative. Harry Potter has always contained shapeshifters and similar magic, so why do they never use it to their advantage when it comes to replacing the cast? It's so frustrating to me. Seeing a character look and sound totally different is always hard to swallow, but these movies have a unique opportunity to use the established rules within the universe to justify this kind of a change, and they never do. As a whole, Secrets of Dumbledore is a streamlined and more digestible story that maintains the entertainment value that keeps me coming back to this series. It's far from perfect, but it's an improvement that makes me feel hopeful. The question is if we'll get any more of these movies. Warner Brothers has stated that greenlighting a sequel will depend on the box office, and this is the first Potter-related film to be an actual flop, so we'll have to wait and see. But after experiencing the movie, I don't know how much it really matters. Granted, I was looking forward to The Rise of Voldemort, which Rowling had said it would lead up to, but Secrets of Dumbledore almost works as a light, just-in-case finale. Now obviously, the story isn't completely resolved, but there was a sense of Grindelwald being defeated in a way. He's not dead or anything like that, but while Crimes of Grindelwald was more of a cliffhanger, this movie saw a definitive end to its self-contained storyline. Would I like to see more? Sure, but it's not like if they cancelled Potter before Deathly Hallows. I really do think that Rowling's stubbornness, in more ways than one, will be the death of this series. It's certainly what led to Crimes of Grindelwald being such a headache, but that combined with everything else has actually led to monetary consequences. And a lot of that stubbornness is something I don't foresee changing anytime soon. I highly doubt it'll be a George Lucas situation, where the franchise gets bought out and handed off to somebody else. J.K. Rowling will never let go of Harry Potter. Even if it completely tarnishes the franchise's legacy, she will go down with her ship. And when it does go down, she'll have no one to blame but herself. Theoretically, of course. I'm sure she'll think of something else to pin it on. Maybe in another decade or two, we'll see a sudden surge of Fantastic Beasts appreciation, like what's happening now with the Star Wars prequels. But for now, if this turns out to be the end, so be it, I guess. Wouldn't be the worst thing for the series to end with just a little dignity.